joins us. I think he's hooked up and ready to go. Good morning, Dusty Dvoracek. How are you,
Good
brother?
morning, Mr. Plank. Fabulous. How are you?
Everything. I'm great, man. Everything good with the son and the orthodontist trip. I've spent a lot of money on orthodontist, Dusty. My daughter's got braces. My other daughter, my wife has braces now. Oh my gosh.
I've got a small investment in braces, Plank. I've got not one. It's like
Not
LeBron
one,
counting
not two.
championships. 3. I got 3 kids in braces.
Oh my gosh.
The 15-year-old, we got the final date set for my birthday.
Oh.
So it is a birthday present for me because I won't have to pay for I won't have to pay for at least one anymore to go to the orthodontist. And 2, you want to talk about taking up some time. I think that we average about 3 to 4 orthodontist appointments a month, it feels like. So, that's like it's going to be heavenly to just go from 3 to 2. But I don't know. I didn't have braces as a kid. I don't know if you did or not.
I did, yeah.
My wife did. Maybe it's just because I didn't have probably the best go to the dentist or the orthodontist or both nearly as much as I should have as a kid growing up. But it just seems like, man, I'll tell you what, there's always people in that waiting room. They got to roll. And we love our orthodontists. They're fantastic, awesome people right here in Norman. Highly appreciate them. But, man, it is a financial and a time investment, to say the least. But all is well. He got the green light that those babies come off in 2 months. So he was pretty fired up about that.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Well, you and I living that life together, man.
Yeah, man. That's what we do.
Most of my bills right now. Hey, I want to take a moment to brag on you.
Oh, boy.
You absolutely crushed it with Scott Van Pelt. We talked about this a little bit on Friday. And then I was one of the few people, I guess, that was all tuned into the Gator Bowl in watching that. And you guys did a great job in what was as one-sided of a game. Now, Manny Diaz's look was something else with the beard.
Oh,
but,
boy.
I think they kind of knew they were doomed. And listen, Ole Miss did what you're supposed to do when you're complaining about not making the playoffs. They went out and kicked the snot out of the team they played in their bowl game. Again, even though Duke was very undermanned. But kudos to you, man. I've enjoyed getting that perspective and watching you work with SVP, and great job on the bowl games too.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. It's been the games are done. The studio continues. Back to D.C. tomorrow for SVP on Thursday and Friday, and then I'll make one more trip out there for the national championship. But we are starting to wind down. I think Pash and I logged 17 games this year.
Oh, wow.
In the booth. So it was a very fun year. 9th year of calling games at ESPN in the books. Crazy how time absolutely flies. And because that means that was the last time I was standing there on the sidelines with you.
That's right.
It's been 10 years.
10 years, bro.
Where does time go?
And I still remember all of it like it was yesterday.
Oh,
which
my
is one
God.
of the
We had
best
some
parts.
good times.
Oh, my gosh.
Great time.
Hey, all right, well, let's real quick before we get into the playoff matchups, and I know your schedule's crazy, so are we going to be able to do this tomorrow too, or will
Heck
you be
yeah.
Okay, good.
No, I'm not leaving until tomorrow night.
Good.
And I was going to leave Thursday, but with the weather coming in, I did not. Did you see
Good call.
Did you see what's coming?
Yes.
I connect in DFW.
Oh, my
typically.
gosh. Get out.
They're calling for like 12 to 14 inches of snow in the Dallas metro.
Yeah, I hope Ohio State and Texas will be able to bus, but I hope Ohio State gets there. I mean, go now, guys, because it's going to be crazy. The weather event that we're going to get is not good. And it reminds me when they had the Super Bowl there and they had the ice storm in Dallas.
Yeah.
Not good. But we see Oklahoma get additive in the portal on the defensive side of the football. We'll get your take on Kendal Daniels here in just a bit, but I want to know what you think of Marvin Jones Jr., a guy, incredible pedigree, an incredible skill set. Now let's see if Oklahoma can unlock it. I like him a lot.
I think you just nailed on it all. His dad was obviously a phenomenal player at Florida State, and he was a 5-star for a reason coming out of high school. He goes to Georgia. He was okay. He wasn't bad. I think they wanted, everyone's expecting a little more production. And I know that when Florida State got him, they thought, I think kind of like Oklahoma is hopeful, that they could unlock something. And, they had Patrick Payton on one side. They're going to put Marvin Jones Jr. on the other. And it just never came together. And that's kind of the question. And And obviously with the phenomenal news yesterday that R. Mason Thomas is back, you start to think about this potential defensive line of Oklahoma, and it sure feels like going into the season, it's got a chance to be one of the absolute best in the SEC and probably one of the best in college football. And Marvin Jones Jr. can be a huge piece to that. PJ could be a big piece to that. But if you can, it's great to have one guy who can really affect the quarterback coming off the edge. We know what's going to be on that interior of the defensive line, but you really need both ends. You need both edges to be able to get to the quarterback, create negative plays. And Marvin Jones Jr., he's got the potential to do that. And I'm sure hopeful that Miguel Chavis and within this system, the scheme, he's able to really live up to the expectation, live up to the talent that he possesses, and be able to just develop. So that's just kind of we'll have to wait and see. Like I like it, I like the move, but he's kind of been, what's the right way to put it? I don't think he is. He's reached his full potential based off of what he's capable of from a production standpoint. And I sure hope that happens here at Oklahoma next season. And it really helps when you've got an outstanding, defensive end on the opposite side. So, I think this past year, he had 4 or 5 sacks. He had some pressures. And I did a Florida State game. I watched his film. He's a good player and got good length, good first step. And, there's a chance that him and R. Mason Thomas could be really, really good together. I'm just hopeful he can have that breakout year that I know he's been waiting for since he got into college football.
When you watch him, what do you see as maybe the missing ingredient right now?
Consistency, I think just down in, down out, being able to win. I think that's against the run as well as, in the pass rush. So that's, I think that's the biggest thing. And that happens with a lot of guys. Alfred Collins at Texas right now, he's kind of a similar player because when I think of Marvin Jones Jr., I think of you see flashes, right? And anytime you flash, that tells you it's in there. You're capable. That twitch, that just to be able to win with your hands, get good enough hips, he can get to the edge and win. And when I watched Alfred Collins from Texas the last several years, Alfred Collins, he'd flash. And I remember always thinking, like, man, this guy is he's got a chance if he can ever just be consistent and put it together. Alfred Collins now at Texas has played himself possibly into a second-round pick because he's been consistent. And it's just down in, down out. And to me, oftentimes that's just about putting the work in. I'm not here to tell you. I don't know behind the scenes what Marvin Jones' mindset's been at Georgia or at Florida State, his other stops along the way. I just think that if he can have a higher level of consistency, which to me will start, here in winter conditioning, it'll start in spring practice, and just, getting the mindset to say that I know I can be a great player, but to be that great player every single down, I got to put the work in. And I'm hopeful that he can get there. We see it happen for players all the time. And I think that's probably, you see the flash. Can you see the consistency? I can't wait to find out.
And then, Dusty, I know you had Arkansas, Oklahoma State this year?
I did.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So you saw, and I think you've seen him a little bit being an Oklahoma guy, Kendal Daniels. Now,
yes.
Was going to be a Sooner whenever he was
seen him a lot.
Recruited and ended up committing to A&M, went to Oklahoma State, has had a nice start to his career. Seems like the prototypical kind of hybrid body build, right? I mean, we're a guy that could play that Roy Backer / Cheetah. What do you make of him and his addition to OU?
Well, I've always liked him in Stillwater for the last several years. Now, I mean, he's not flawless. He's not perfect. Right. He's got a great ability to make big plays in crucial spots. I mean, he's made some big plays for the Cowboys the last several seasons. I mean, his frame is what stands out to you. Out of Beggs, I believe.
Yes, sir.
He's 6'4". I mean, I bet he's walking around at 225, 230. And he really is, and he's really long and rangy. And, to me, I'll be intrigued where they put him. He seems tailor fit for the cheetah position. Yeah. To your point. Now, Kendall Dolby's coming back. I know that they love him in that spot too. He's a different body type than that. But I think that he's a long athlete who, he's a good blitzer. He's got a knack for being around the football. He has had some tackling issues. I think he's got to shore up his tackling. At times, whenever he's downhill, he can put a hat on you and put you down. But I've also seen him in space, have some issues being able to get guys on the ground. He'll have to clean that up. But, I love the body type. I love the potential. And I'm fascinated to see how they try to incorporate him into this defense. So I thought that was a nice get. Did I see another Oklahoma State Cowboy that is visiting, Jeff Robertson?
Well, he's been they're saying they're projecting
is he already
him.
committed?
No, they haven't committed yet, but they're projecting him, which is weird what they do with these commitments, and I'm not here to judge anything, but it's like they're projecting Robertson to go to Oklahoma, but it's only with 50% confidence. Well,
Okay.
are you projecting him to come here or not?
They're projecting clicks. Paul.
Right, I guess so, but I got to be honest, I don't know much about him either.
Good linebacker. I think a guy that, watching him, I actually thought he tackled well this past year. And whenever I've watched him on film, I think Oklahoma, to me, he would be a depth guy. I think I like what Oklahoma has coming back kind of on that front line. But I think, you need bodies. I think if we know anything about whether it be here at Oklahoma or watching around the country in college football, you can't just have good ones, man. You got to have good ones and twos. And to be able to navigate that schedule that's only going to get tougher adding Michigan next season, you're going to need as much depth as you can possibly get. And I think that, a veteran guy who's played football and reliable tackler that I think would definitely add good depth to that linebacker room that I think he's got a chance to still be pretty good, even though you're losing, Danny Stutzman, you're losing another player to the portal. I still like what they've got in that room, what they've got coming up. So if they do indeed land him, I don't know if I see him as a starter, but I definitely see him adding some quality depth into that room. And kind of similar with Kendal Daniels, again, I think that we've heard Brent Venables say this a lot, but competitive depth. I think that the most important thing you can do is bring in guys that are going to push other players, and you create that competition. And whether they're a starter, there's someone who's going to rotate in, or someone that's called upon if a starter does go down. That's what everybody is searching for. And I think that based off of the additions that I've seen here so far, I think that looks like they're on a really good path to be able to do that defensively.
I feel like we need to expound. What does the addition of the return of R. Mason Thomas mean for Oklahoma?
He's going to have a chance to be one of the elite edge rushers in college football. It changes everything. We saw that this year in games. The Auburn game, the Tulane game, the Alabama game. This is a guy that can take the game over. And I think that his confidence is only going to grow. Offenses are only going to be more and more aware of him. You're going to have to game plan for him. That first step, explosiveness, is ridiculous. And, he's still learning. And I feel like this is one where Coach Venables kind of called his shot. You go back to, what was it, his first, I believe at first fall camp. I think Brent Venables, in that first year, he kind of said, R. Mason Thomas, our best edge rusher. And we're like, what? I go, what? He's a true freshman. How is that possible? And he's finally been able to stay healthy. He's finally been able to live up to that. And so when they're going to be as good as they are on the inside, and you get that inside push, and now you're going to have at least one guy off the edge like that, it puts offensive lines in a tough spot. And it's really going to help out whether it's, PJ, Marvin Jones Jr., Taylor Wine, whoever else is going to be opposite R. Mason, maybe a combination of all those. It's only going to help and make their life better. And do you know who loves a pass rush more than anybody? A secondary.
Secondary.
Because it goes hand in hand. Secondaries and pass defense is so much better when you can affect the quarterback, when you can have guys like R. Mason Thomas. So it's a game changer, man. And I feel like finally this year, for the first time in a couple years, Oklahoma finally had that guy on the edge that could just win, third down, you got to have a good rush. You got to get off the field. And they had that this past year. And I think that's only going to continue for R. Mason Thomas. He'll continue to get better, to get stronger, to learn more. And as offenses have to develop a plan, it's only going to make life that much easier on other people around him. So that is which I think we all thought this was a done deal several weeks back. And then obviously whatever happened. Maybe he had to assess his draft status and where that took him. But I think it makes the most sense for him to come back, put another year of development or another year of production, and continue to fine-tune even his skill set. And I think it's going to give him that much better of an opportunity at the NFL level. And I think clearly I'm sure it's going to be worth his while coming back to Oklahoma for one more run.
I think you're right. All right, quick break. Your texts for Dusty, 405-651-3439, 405-651-3439. We'll hit your questions and talk a little playoffs next on The Ref.
Dusty Dvoracek here. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
All right, I'm a little bit behind on my NFL news. Dusty Dvoracek is with us. So our TVs aren't working in here. So I don't know if there's new news on this, but how you feeling about Mike McCarthy and Chicago apparently interested in talking to him? Cowboys they've been pretty solid and consistent that, hey, we'd love to have him back, but where do you stand on your Cowboys and Mike McCarthy right now?
I wish he'd go maybe interview somewhere besides the two teams that I have a rooting interest in. I appreciate Coach McCarthy, but if he's got better opportunities somewhere else,
I didn't even think about that.
It's not going to bother me.
I didn't even think about him talking to Chicago and that being your other team outside of Dallas. I'm sorry, man.
I'll tell you, and maybe he's going to go to New England. I just love Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, me too.
That would be my top landing spot. Like if McCarthy were to leave, so be it. We wish you well. I would love if they could bring in Mike Vrabel. Big fan of his. I'm surprised the Bears aren't taking a look or talking to Ron Rivera, who was my defensive coordinator my first year in Chicago, man, who won a Super Bowl championship.
Yeah, he did.
In Chicago, took the Carolina Panthers, obviously, to a Super Bowl when he was the head coach there. I know that he's been a name that's been out there for some other jobs. I have not heard him mentioned with Chicago, but, if Mike McCarthy is no longer the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, I will not lose any sleep. I'll put it at that. And it's not to say he's a bad coach. I think I've seen enough, and you know what? I think most Cowboys fans would agree that as long as Jerry Jones is in place, maybe nothing's really going to change, and that portion of the team, the head coaching spot, doesn't really matter. But just seen some undisciplined stuff from the Cowboys when he's been the head coach, and he clearly knows what he's doing. He's won a lot of games, won a Super Bowl championship. So if he heads to Chicago, I will wish him well and continue to root for him there, and hope that the Cowboys can potentially upgrade with their head coach.
What's the best NFL head coach's opening right now?
Ooh.
You want the list?
Ooh, yeah. What are we up to now? We got.
I dropped my piece of paper.
We got the Jags. We got which I don't know.
The Jags this is so weird for me, Dusty. The Jags just sent out a tweet with their 8 interview requests that they've sent out, which it's so weird to see the NFL do this.
Shad Khan is. Interesting character.
Robert Saleh's on this list for the Jaguars. But they got the Jaguars, the Patriots, the Bears, the Saints, and the Jets. Those are your 5 vacancies in the NFL right now.
I would say the Bears.
I think you're right.
I think it's Chicago. Of those, I would say New England's also in consideration. I like Drake May. I mean, the question is, what do you think of Caleb Williams? I like Caleb Williams. And I like Drake May. So you've got young, to me, talented quarterbacks to build around. Robert Kraft, he seems to be a good owner to work for. Gerard Mayo would probably have something else to say, considering he's one and done there in New England. But definitely at least stability. You've got stability in each of those from the family that owns the team. Right, the McCaskey family, You can question or challenge however you want. They've been tried and true there for a very long time. And obviously Robert Kraft there in New England. So I would say those two. I just think right now that there's better pieces in Chicago than there is in New England. So if I were ranking those, I would say Chicago 1, and I would say probably New England 2. The Jags, I've been so wrong on Trevor Lawrence. I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be a home run, and it just has not worked. And now we've had 2 different coaches come through there, and it just doesn't seem to be working. And the owner scares me quite a bit. So I would probably be wary of that. The Jets, I'd stay away from the Jets plank. I
would too.
I'd want no part of that. So yeah, I think Bears Patriots. What about you? What do you say?
I again, by the way, I'm sorry if I'm distracted. I'm watching our buddy Drake Dykin try to fix the TVs in here, and he's standing on a chair right now. You need help, Draker?
Careful.
Be careful. Yeah, Dusty says be careful. I'm like you. I'm waiting for Trevor Lawrence to develop. I just saw the Titans fire their general manager. 2 years on the job, and they fired Rand Carthen. I mean, what are we doing, Tennessee? I'm with you. The Bears, I love me some Drake May. I think the Patriots is a really good job too. So, yeah, worth keeping an eye on those. And getting it back to college, kind of. You know, I tweeted this last night. I thought Chris Del Conte very aggressive in kind of his retort about the rumors that Sark could be a candidate for an NFL job right now. I think, go back history when Lane Kiffin was hired in Oakland at the time. You know who Al Davis wanted to hire? He wanted to hire Steve Sarkeesian. Sarkeesian was an assistant coach at USC, and Al Davis fell in love with him, and he wanted to hire Sark, and Sark said, I'm not ready to do that, but I know this guy. Lane Kiffin got hired, and the rest is history. Do you think there's any chance that Sark could be a guy that might be willing to talk to an NFL team? Remember, spent some time in Atlanta, had some success as an NFL offensive coordinator.
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I don't think and he did, and he valued that time in Atlanta. Like he told me that made him a better coordinator. He added some stuff to his offensive arsenal, especially as it relates to tight ends, utilizing more of tight ends, even more some run game. So I think he became a better offensive coordinator, offensive mind with his time in the NFL. But I think he looks at where he's at as an ideal spot. And I think that he looks at the resources he has, where that program currently is, where he's taken it to here over these last couple of seasons. And I don't see any way he would leave Texas and go there. And maybe just some earmuffs for some of the KREF Army that
go ahead
just hates Texas. And I get it, man.
They're not going anywhere, are they?
They're not going anywhere. And I really like Steve Sarkeesian.
Yeah.
He is a great football coach. He's a good guy. In the job that I do, I can't tell you how good he is to deal with for me, and just the way he treats me, and how respectful he is of me and our crew whenever we call their games. Like he really is. And just schematically, their offense, man, is it good? He is a really good play caller, play designer. We see that quite often whenever we see Texas. Again, I know this is making people cringe hearing me talk glowingly about Steve Sarkeesian. I get why there's this potential intrigue out there from NFL teams that want to bring him in. It wouldn't just surprise me. It would shock me if Steve Sarkeesian left what he currently has at Texas and took an NFL job where there's so much uncertainty. Just the turnover in the NFL is wild. You could see Steve Sarkeesian in that job there at Texas for quite some time, and it would really surprise me if he's gotten this Texas program to this point, back-to-back college football semifinals, to then take that and go to the NFL. But I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But I don't see this one. I think he's very, very happy right where he's at there in Austin. Does it mean he may get a pay bump? Yeah, possibly so. I'm sure Jimmy Sexton is loving the news getting out there that he's maybe being courted by some NFL teams, but I don't see much likelihood of him leaving whatsoever.
Yeah, me neither.
One other Oklahoma item.
Sorry for the kind words about Sark on here. I know.
Thank you for the apology.
I know it's painful.
We will graciously accept it. One other Oklahoma item we haven't touched on yet. I think we thought this was going to happen, but we did get the confirmation. Kendall Dolby's coming back to OU. What does that mean for this Sooner defense?
It's massive. I told you during the break, Josh, like to me, I'm basing this off of he's going to come back to full health. Right? Now, that was a Houston game, Plank?
Gosh,
was that the Houston game with the air cast? That was so bad.
Yep.
I guess I'm just – and I don't know. I have not talked to anybody about kind of where he's at in his recovery. I'm just going to assume he's going to be the same Kendall Dolby that we saw before, okay? Now, if he's not able to get back to that point, this will change my assessment. But I'm assuming that, he's going to rehab the right way and he's going to be back and he's going to be that same guy. To me, that's bigger than the additions that we just spoke about, Kendal Daniels or Marvin Jones Jr. Now, if Marvin Jones Jr. can, really be that guy that he was heralded coming in, maybe I'll change my tune. Kendall Dolby is a stud, and the role he plays in that cheetah spot, I'm just going to tell you, I remember doing the spring game last year with Toby, and we're going through the roster with Coach Venables, and he's talking about all these different players. And when we got to Kendall Dolby, he said elite.
Oof.
He didn't use elite for a lot of players, if any. He said elite with Kendall Dolby. And his ability to blitz, and he's not that big, but he plays bigger. He's just kind of a tenacious player. Got some real nasty to him, but he's extremely smart, understands the scheme, how he fits in it. He's a good tackler. He's very good in coverage and understanding how he fits in the coverage. It probably wasn't talked about enough, his absence this year, Plank.
I don't think it was.
Because he was a player that I can assure you, like when we talked early in the year about this being an elite defense, he was a big reason why. And he really wasn't there for essentially the entirety of the season. So to get him back, and if he's back healthy, that same Kendall Dolby that was there for this season, that is, again, that's almost like a big get from the portal, though it's somebody from within your own roster. But as we were sitting there, when you were at last season, I don't know if he was a guy that you thought was going to be back. So, yeah, Josh, I'm glad you mentioned him. And, I kind of brought him up, last segment. But I think that is way bigger news than it's probably getting credit for right now. I think he could have a huge impact on this defense. And I love seeing the fact that hopefully he's back fully healthy and the fact that he's returning to this Oklahoma defense.
All right, got a couple of texts here. I got a lot. Oh, Dolby got hurt in the Tennessee game. Thank you. That's my bad.
Was it Tennessee?
Game,
okay.
That's right.
Okay.
And it was a little later in that Tennessee game. By the way, 3 quick ones on Sark, which is hilarious. Okay. Zach and Purcell writes, stop making me cringe. Why do you think we're dreaming of him leaving? Because we know Texas is going to be good as long as he's there. Don in Tulsa, this is a callback to the T-Rose show. Dusty, are you eating at Longhorn Steakhouse tonight? See, Toby thinks if you eat at Longhorn Steakhouse, you're supporting Texas. And the realist writes, when Dusty said Sark was respectful, did he mean he treated Dusty like he did that bowl employee? My gosh, people, one thing at the Alamo Bowl 3 years ago where he yelled at a guy that stood in front of him, people will never let that go. So there you go.
Listen, I can't. I've seen the video. I saw it. I can't speak to that. He did not like him touching him.
Yeah, I think that's clear. Oh, then here's one. Denver from Indiana writes, first Bob, now Dusty. I'm crushed. I thought we all hated Texas. Listen, this isn't about hate because Bob Stoops was preaching the praises of Steve Sarkeesian earlier this year. It's not about Texas. It's about, Sark's a hell of a story. I mean, he really is.
He is a great story. And he's a really good coach. And again, I'm not going to continue to go on and on about it. Nobody wants to hear that. But I mean, he again, all I can speak to is my experience with him. And I didn't ever have whenever he was at his other stops.
Right.
Maybe once when he was the OC at Bama. Maybe.
Right.
But I didn't have much interaction with him. But since he's been the Texas head coach, I've done a lot of Texas games.
Yeah.
And I deal with a lot of coaches There are few, if any, coaches out there that treat me as good as Sark does. I mean, and that's on the record, off the record. He's really good to me, and I respect the way he's gone about his business and he's run that program. So there's no doubt. I can understand why Oklahoma fans would love to see him take an NFL job and he'd be out of there. But and I get it, man. It's understandable. It's not supposed to like the arch rival's head coach. There's no doubt. But I think I would hope that fans can at least understand why there's a respect there for him and what he's been able to do, because he's done a really nice job. Good to hear that I'm in good company with these words.
Coach
with Bob
Stoops.
Stoops, yeah. Longhorn Steakhouse. I didn't even know that was a.
I didn't
know that was a thing.
I'm not going to bring it up to Toby that it's one of my kids' favorite places to eat. He might kick me off the radio network if he finds out that I've been eating there.
You better not do it.
I know, right? Don't anybody tell Toby. Here's one more, and I'll let you get out of here for the 501. Dusty, with this defense and all the returning pieces for Oklahoma and the experience, would you say I'm crazy to think that if Oklahoma has a top 35 offense, that maybe we could see a team that could win 9 to 10 games? That schedule's going to be tough.
I would never call you crazy. Let's just it's January 7th. Let's just get to spring practice. Let me see what they look like in spring practice. I'm not in any way ready to start shelling out win totals just yet. What I do think, though, is this defense going to have a chance to be excellent. And I think that the offense is going to be very much improved. And I'm anxious to see what it looks like with Ben Arbuckle. I'm very anxious to see John Mateer running this offense and the weapons that he'll have at his disposal. And I think that we should all anticipate one of the biggest jumps and one of the biggest improvements as an offense in college football. That, I think that most people would agree to that. So if you can get if you're a top 10 defense and you've got a top 35 offense, you're going to be in position to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
There's no question. Am I ready to say that's a 9-10 win season given that schedule? I'm not ready to say that yet, Plank, but I'll tell you this, Oklahoma's going to be a really competitive team, going to be a fun team to watch if they're able to make those improvements. How big is that? How anticipated is that Michigan game going to be now? After the way Michigan closed out the year, beating Ohio State, beating Alabama.
And beating Alabama with a majority
Sharon
of the
Moore.
team that's going to be there to start next year. And it looks like they got a quarterback. I mean, we'll see what this kid looks like if that freshman starts from day one. But
Bryce Underwood,
yeah, that's going to be fun. All right, buddy. Hey, we'll talk to you tomorrow, man. Have a great
Talk
rest
a
of your
little playoff?
Tuesday. Yeah, let's talk playoffs tomorrow.
Are you excited for these games Thursday? How do we feel about Thursday, Friday night playoff football in college?
Odd, but I'm getting used to it a little bit. It's throwing me off. I wish that we just did both on Saturday. But I understand.
Let me sell it to you this way.
Go ahead.
How do we feel about 5 straight days of playoff football if we include college and NFL?
And did they hold on? Did they do that Thursday, Friday with that in mind, or was this just a happy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're not trying to mess with the NFL playoffs because NFL's they got Saturday, and they got games Sunday, and they got one game Monday night. So we're gonna have 5 straight days of playoff football. I don't suck.
Let's go. All right, buddy. Talk to you tomorrow. Can't wait. See you, bro. That's Dusty Dvoracek. Every single Tuesday and Wednesday here on the Ref. Let me go. I got to get my my sponsorship here. Ghazni, the title sponsor of Dusty. If you have been in a car wreck, don't waste time. Get the help you deserve. Call Robin Will at 405-800-8080. That's 405-800-8080, or in Tulsa, 918-800-8080. Experience the difference. Get back to life. Get more for your settlement.